In real estate, the process is guided by two equally important forces: the clients pursuing their dream and the agents working to make those dreams a reality. Every transaction has a chronicle. These are their stories.
Hi, and welcome to Realty and Reality Unfiltered. I am your host, Angela, and this show is not like what you see other places. It's not an HGTV type of thing. It is unfiltered. It is about real transactions that we have here in Georgia, realtors and people in the industry telling you about the real story. I mean, it ain't always pretty. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. So today I am blessed to have a friend and longtime colleague, someone who has been around with me for several years. She knew me before I was a realtor full-time, and Monique Taylor is here with us today. So thank you, Monique.
Hi.
I appreciate you coming in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in real estate, things like that, because this is going to be an interview, but this is going to be for real.
Okay.
So tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I have been in real estate 20 years. I started 2005, and I started in real estate because I bought my first house and I didn't have an inspection.
That's a no-no. That's a no-no. For anybody watching, that's a no-no.
I didn't know. And so I started, when I got into it, I had bought my second house and we were sitting across from another agent, and they just said, "Hey, well, have you thought about real estate?" So here I am.
All right. Well, look, sometimes you know that you're going to be good when your experience starts because you had a bad experience.
Right.
My experience was similar. I had a horrible agent for our first home. Horrible. Didn't even show up to closing. So when I tell you, that was like, I don't ever want anyone to feel this way again. So Here we are. Experience is the best teacher. And now we are teaching others so that they don't have that experience.
Right.
Okay. So again, she's been in the business for over 20 years. I've been in the business just as long, so we have some stories, and we're gonna talk about some of those stories. But today we're gonna focus on a client situation that no one ever prepares you for. So, like when you're going to real estate, when you're going to the real estate class, and you're going to school and all that to get your license, you're learning about the book part of it. No one tells you about the real part of it. So, without going into party names and specifics and stuff like that, what made this specific situation unique?
Well, it was different for me because at that time I was trying to find a new lender.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so we know that lenders either make or break a deal for us.
Boy, do they, yes.
And I referred a different lender.
Okay.
Because the young lady had challenges before, and I had heard great things about this particular lender.
Okay. Okay.
So I had her reach out to the lender, and we're moving ahead.
Okay, moving ahead. All right. So those that don't know, when you are in real estate, you have lenders that you love. Like you have primary lenders that you work with. Usually because they work like you work, they've taken care of your clients. They've proven that they know what they're doing.
Right.
And there are times when you got to leave that relationship and go find somebody else. And that's almost like a divorce sometimes because, you have a relationship with them. You get to know them. You had clients that you've referred to them over the years, and finding somebody else who does business like you is not easy. It's not something that is easy at all. And then just like giving a new client to this new lender is like giving your baby, like for the first day you take your baby to daycare.
Right.
And you have to walk away. It's like that.
It's like that. It was exactly like that.
Because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going to happen. You heard good things.
I heard good things.
Right.
And she had a down payment assistance program that would have worked for my client.
Right. And everybody don't have that. So that was another tick for her. That was another check for her. But you don't know what you're going to get. So I was like, here we are. So tell me, at what point did you realize that this is going to be challenging?
Well, I knew because we went under contract around right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And the paperwork wasn't there until later. My client was like, "No, she hadn't asked me for anything." And I'm like,
wait.
I'm like, what? And so, we have those dates.
Right.
That everything needs to be done.
And no paperwork was it.
No paperwork was there.
Okay, first off, all right. So when you get with a lender, okay, the lender's gonna make you pull in the application, put an application online usually, or they'll take it over the phone.
Right.
And then they're gonna ask you for your documents.
Right.
You know, your W-2, your pay stubs, your bank statements, all those things. That is a normal order of situation.
It would be. I thought so. But I kept asking my client, I said, hey, did you submit all your documents? She's like, no, she didn't ask for anything. And I'm like, she didn't ask for Hold on.
And you're already under contract at this point.
I'm under contract at this point. And we might have been, I want to say it was around, I think you was under contract around, because we were talking and everybody, I had a couple of agent friends, we all went under contract around the same time.
And no paperwork.
No paperwork.
Okay, that's red flag. Just in case you were wondering, that's a red flag. They can't officially give, well, they're not supposed to officially give you a pre-approval. Now, they can do a pre-qual, okay? They can do a pre-qual without all of those documents. The pre-qual is just basically based on what you told them, basically.
Right.
And maybe even the credit score. Like sometimes they'll pull a soft pull or a credit report. But you can't get a pre-approval, a real one, whether it's desktop underwriting or actual TBD underwriting. You can't get that without having the documents. But you had a pre-approval letter to attach with the contract offer.
Right, but because she technically wasn't the one, I think, if I can remember, she wasn't the one that gave the pre-approval.
Okay, but you were switching to her. Okay, gotcha.
Right,
okay,
another lender did, but my client said she no longer wanted to work with that.
Okay,
right.
Okay, so y'all were already in the process.
So we knew she could qualify. Right. She could qualify, but we went under contract. You know, I asked the lender how many days while I was writing this contract. How many days do you need to get this deal
That would have
done?
been the perfect time to say, you know what, I don't even have the documents, so I probably need more days.
Matter of fact, this lender kind of overstepped because she knew the listing agent.
Oh,
and you know, the listing agent, you know how we call and make sure that this, before we accept the offer, we want to make sure that this could work. The listing agent reached out to her and she was, you know, let's say I put 21 days on there. She told the listing agent, no, I only need 18. So the listing agent countered me on that.
What? How you not gonna have the wait, you got the paperwork and you undercutting me.
Right. So that was before. So, you know, before the lady, the listing agent accepted our offer. Right. The lender already spoke with her. And so, yeah.
And you counted off for me. Thank you.
She cut me. So here it is. I actually needed those days that she told
because she didn't have the documents.
She didn't have the documents.
No, that's it. Okay. So if you're still here watching, you'll see this is the stuff that you don't see on TV or you hear when you scrolling through Instagram and you see the big balloons and all that kind of stuff because they just bought the house. That you didn't see this,
right?
So so tell me what you did to keep the transaction moving forward, because that could have been like dead in the water.
It could have been. I will say when I did reach out to her, to the lender, she said, "Hey, you know, I can get it done. I can get it done." I said, okay. Well, my client had to be out of her rental.
It just keep coming. Okay, coach, you got to get a rental.
She needed to be out of that rental. And I'm like, okay, so are you going to get it done before, you know, because we had a 30-day, the listing agent wanted to play hardball because she's like, well, I've used that lender before and she can get it. I said, well, she's not doing what I need her to do on this side. So what happened was she finally get the paperwork. But one document that she really needed, she couldn't get because my client was a teacher. She couldn't get it to verify because schools was closed.
That's right, because we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, now we're at Christmas because we didn't close it when we needed it. So.
And look, my husband is a teacher, so I already know. But when that last day of school, they gone. Like
they're gone.
They're gone. You're not getting the email response back. Nothing is happening. And here in Christmas,
yeah, because I didn't close it in 30 days.
Oh my God.
And so she was like, well, I can't, we need some more documents and it needs to, it's Christmas, school's closed. My client's crying. I got to be out the house. I got to go stay somewhere. And so, at this point, we're all trying to make it work.
Right.
So the landlord did give her an extension.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a blessing because
We're not going to get to that part yet.
okay. All right. I'm thinking it's a blessing. I'm thinking
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Right.
But okay. All right. So communication. So clearly communication was essential throughout the whole process.
Throughout the whole process.
Because if there had been clear communication between the lender and your client and you, a lot of the troubles could have been avoided. Or if they couldn't have been avoided, we could have been prepared for them. Like you could have adequately prepared her in advance to say, hey, this might be something that we're going to need. Maybe reach out to your landlord, maybe reach out to the HR department before the last day of school. Like if there had been communication from the lender to all parties,
right,
and not just to the listing agent who she's clearly friends with or
she's
something.
Friends with her.
And so you got to serve your client, and your client is the buyer in this situation.
Right.
So if that had been done, all of those things could have been avoided. So now that communication on that end has been thwarted, like what did you have to do communication wise to make sure that this ended with her getting her keys? Because I mean, that's the ultimate goal.
Right. So of course I had to, be the middleman, right? And we do that for all of our clients, but I really want for it to be a clear communication between the lender and the buyer because they have a relationship.
Exactly. Okay, I don't need to know your social security number. I don't need to know all that stuff.
I don't want to know any of that.
Right. I don't need to know any of that stuff for us to make this deal work.
Right. And I tend to stay in my lane. My lane is to negotiate, right? Mm-hmm. And the lender, hey, that's numbers. I don't deal with numbers in that aspect, right? So, I pretty much had to, pull the buyer off the ledge, right? So I have to stay in communication with her, and she's mad
freaking out.
And then the lender, I had to, hey, we're going to do everything by email. That way I need to cover myself.
CYA.
But I also need to know that the lender isn't talking to the agent, the listing agent, because they are in communication. And oh my gosh.
Can you communicate with the person that is actually bringing you the client?
Right, because even when I needed an extension, the listing agent's like, no, I don't want to give you the extension. And I'm like, hey, this isn't working the way that we all saw it.
Right.
The goal is to get the seller to sell the house, to get the buyer to buy the house.
Right, because the seller is under contract. They want to be out of the house just like the buyer wants to be in the house. Did the listing agent ever know what was coming down the pipe before you even did?
The listing agent knew something. And she called me and was like, hey, we got the appraisal. And I'm like,
oh, wait, stop.
How did you?
Because I know you lying. I know you got to be lying.
How did you get that?
The listing agent notified you
that was in, So it was just,
honey,
I felt so bad because I'm like, okay, this lender came highly recommended, and it was a program. She did have a program that would help my buyer, right?
Okay,
because of course, sometimes buyers need a little assistance.
Exactly, right?
And that's okay. Right? It was a program. I hadn't heard any of the programs from any other lender at that time,
right,
so I was like, hey, I got a perfect client for that. It was. But yes, the lender knew some stuff. The listing agent knew some stuff that, I didn't know. I wasn't privy to because they talked.
Okay.
Needless to say, I don't use that lender anymore. Right? That was a one and done.
And yet we're not saying names. Don't be in our DMs. We're not naming names.
I'm not naming names.
We're not naming names. We just don't go back to have business with them. That's how that goes.
Right. Because even after closing, my client wrote a review.
Oh,
and the lender sent my client a really nasty text to say you wouldn't have a home if it wasn't for me. So I don't use that person at all.
Oh, so you mess up everything, and then you get mad when I give a clear and honest review of your services.
Mm-hmm.
You get mad and send me
And she said you would still be in the apartment if it wasn't for me. I'm like, yeah, if it wasn't for you, she wouldn't have had to pay them days that she had to stay in that apartment a little longer.
Right.
And she wouldn't have had that either. She had to pay for that. She had to pay for an extra U-Haul, So I'm like, if it wasn't for you, we would have did so much more.
Look, what is it? The nerve, the audacity.
Yeah, the audacity.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh, you're past all of that kind of stuff. Y'all are getting ready to go to the closing table, or you're at the closing table. Did the lender come to closing?
No.
Oh. Of course not. But did you all close in the same room with the seller?
Yes,
okay,
we did.
How was the experience with that?
They both was overjoyed.
Okay, good.
The seller,
okay.
I think she had the home like for 30 something years.
Oh,
yeah. And the buyer, I remember when she did they had an open house. The buyer went to the open house and she said it felt like her grandmother's house. Oh. So she was attached to that home,
right.
From day one. So at the closing, they both, hugged each other and, it was crying and all of that going on.
It makes it, at the end, all the trouble that was going on for those 45, 50, whatever many days
right.
it was, that moments like that is what makes it seem worth it. You know what I mean? Because the seller was giving their home or selling their home to a home that they loved for
right.
many, many years. They were giving it to someone who would love it too.
Right.
Because they immediately, not just did they have a desire or attachment to the house because it was pretty or anything like that, but it was because there was an emotional attachment to it.
Right.
So that's another reason why you go so hard for your client, because when they find the home that they want, that there's more to it. It's not
right.
It's not just brick and mortar. It's not just frame. It is memories. It is a place that they can consider their shelter when they, are having a bad day. Like, that's the things right. that we look at as a realtor that cares.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Right.
Because that let me preface that, because that's not always the same, but a realtor that cares.
Because clearly mine didn't care. I had me by that house with no inspection. Like, what?
We opened the door and we just walked in. Oh, this is good. But no, so like a realtor that cares, those are the things that drive them.
Right.
And that's what drove you, other than not driving you, driving you crazy, but that's another thing that kept you online and on target for making sure that your client got the house.
Right.
So, okay, so we had the lender who didn't do all the paperwork that they were supposed to do up front. Didn't ask the client for it until after you were already under contract.
Right. I think we were already past our due
diligence period. So
that's all of that good stuff. Like, we're moving. I'm like, okay, you said 18 days, and I think we might have been at day 7. Like, we were in that contract.
Oh, y'all were deep in the contract. Like,
yeah,
money had been put in.
Yeah, everything. And I'm saying, you sure she hadn't asked? Because I'm talking to her and she was like, yeah,
everything's fine. So we have a lender who didn't do the paperwork or didn't ask for it until we were deep in the contract. We have a lender who is also talking to the listing agent more than they're talking to you, who represents their client. And then we have a lender who, at the end of it all, was nasty to the client because they messed up. So, boys and girls, we are not bashing lenders.
I'm not at all.
But this is a true situation. Like, we of course need the lenders, okay? Just like I believe that realtors are essential, so are lenders, okay? But there are bad apples as realtors, just like there are bad apples as lenders. Mm-hmm. And when you come across one, you know it, and it can send shockwaves through the entire transaction.
Right.
So, all right. So if you weren't going to go over the whole story again, but you wanted to give it in a nutshell, what would you tell a prospective client or another agent to do to prevent themselves from being in that boat?
I would make sure that they communicate up front. And so, I mean, you got to ask for the documents. Yeah, I didn't ask a lot of questions, and that was my fault because, especially by me being experienced, I should have asked a little more questions. But again, she came highly recommended from a lot of
different people.
Yeah, a lot of agents. And so I was like, okay, yeah, she knows her stuff.
Right.
Like I've sat in on classes that this lender had taught.
Oh, Lord.
So I'm thinking, she know her stuff. Right. There's no way that she could have messed up, right?
Right. Okay, so other than asking questions, like what would you tell so that's who you would advise your fellow realtors, make sure you ask the right questions.
Make sure you ask the right questions. For clients, I mean, typically it's the same thing as asking questions because, it's always a buyer beware. Right. But you might want to check with 2 or 3 of them. Right. Because we do have someones that we do prefer to work with. Right. But I don't steer them one way or the other. Exactly. I do give them at least 2 or 3 names. Right. But in that point, I just knew that this particular lender had that down payment assistance that my client was looking for. So now when I speak with my team of lenders, I make sure, who has what, right. And at least 2 of them have the same thing.
Exactly. Right. Or something similar. So you don't have to say this is the only one that I know that has that. Right. Right. So I mean, and just like you, like when I send out my home buyer welcome email or something like that, it has 4 or 5 different lenders in there, and I will tell them, hey, this is in the order of alphabetical or how often I've used them, but don't let that deter you from. Right. I said, call them. Pick 2 or 3. Just blindfold yourself and pick 2 or 3, right. And call them and see how they make you feel. Right. Do they ask you the right question? Like, do they ask you questions? Are they trying to rush you off the phone? Mm-hmm. Do they want to know like your time? Like see how they make you feel when you talk to them before you put in the application, before you do any of those things, because you're going to be attached to that person at least at the very minimum 30, 45 days at the very minimum. So you're going to be attached to that person and they're going to be dealing with your personal finances. Mm-hmm. So do you feel comfortable talking with them? Did they rush you off the phone? Did they say, you know what, I'm doing something and I'll call you back? Like, how did it make you feel? And once you find 2 of them, 2 or 3, you can give them a phone call. I mean, you can put in an application with them. And most lenders nowadays do soft pulls. They don't necessarily have to do a hard pull. Right. So you don't have to worry about your credit being nicked. So this is going to be, of course, we end all of these on a note because this closed, okay? But keep in mind, there are situations where it doesn't. No. And all of that work and all of that time mounted to nothing. This situation, was great because it did end up with the client getting the home. Right. It did end up with smiles and tears of joy at the closing table. But just so you know, there are times when it doesn't. So this is a true story about what happens when everybody isn't working as a team. Right. And you're going to see that. You're not going to see that in HGTV. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that on some of those podcasts because they want the warm and fuzzies, but they don't want to show the real. So I appreciate you all tuning in. I thank you so much, Monique, for coming and sharing that story with me. Because look, now I got to make sure I'm asking the right questions.
Right, we got to.
Yeah, you got to make sure. Because I do not want that situation to be one of my stories. But thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate you. I love you. But we're going to see you next time. Thank you again for tuning in. Y'all have a good one. Bye.